The Houthi weapons development program has a budget constraint and an engineering philosophy, and both of them point in the same direction. The budget constraint is obvious. Yemen is not a wealthy country, the Houthi movement is not a wealthy organization, and Iranian technical assistance, while generous in scope, arrives in the form of designs and guidance, rather than finished hardware. Everything has to be built in Yemen, with Yemeni labor, from components that can be sourced through a supply chain that international sanctions have made complicated, but not impossible. The engineering philosophy follows directly from the budget constraint. Maximize damage per dollar. Shahed 136 drones at $30,000 apiece. Moored influence mines at $8,000. And now, emerging from the workshop districts south of Sana'a over the past 18 months, a new category of weapon that the Houthi program has been developing with the specific enthusiasm of engineers who have found a product line with excellent cost-to-nuisance ratios. The unmanned surface vessel, what the US military calls a USV, what the Houthis call a water drone, and what a reasonable observer might describe as a speedboat that has been relieved of the obligation to carry a crew, is, in its simplest form, a fiberglass or aluminum hull, packed with explosive material and guided to its target by a commercial navigation system and a human operator with a video link. The concept is not new. The Ukrainian Navy used something similar against the Russian Black Sea Fleet in 2022, with results that got people's attention across multiple navies simultaneously, including the attention of the Houthi technical program, which looked at the videos from Sevastopol with the professional interest of engineers who had been thinking along similar lines and were now looking at proof of concept. The Houthi variant, developed over the following year with Iranian design input, is approximately 5 meters long, runs on a commercial marine diesel engine capable of pushing it to 35 knots, carries between 200 and 400 kilograms of explosive material in a shaped charge configuration, designed to detonate on contact with a vessel's hull, and is guided from a remote control station through a commercial satellite video link that the operator uses to steer the craft to its target. The whole assembly costs approximately $40,000. The warhead is the expensive part. The specific USV that left its concealed storage facility near the Yemeni coast at 1:47 this morning was launched from a fishing dhow operating 18 nautical miles offshore, which is far enough from the coast to avoid the radar coverage of the surveillance infrastructure in the immediate coastal zone, but close enough to the shipping lanes to make the transit to a target achievable within the USV's operational range. The dhow is underway. The USV is heading northeast at 31 knots. The remote operator is at a shore-based control station with a video feed that is, at this moment, showing the dark surface of the Red Sea at night with no visible target yet, because the USV is still 17 nautical miles from its intended intercept point. The intended target is in the night operations area. The intended target is large and slow and has been in roughly the same operating zone for 11 days, and its general position was established from commercial satellite imagery 48 hours ago. The operator is steering northeast following the GPS track that the mission planners loaded into the navigation system before launch. Aboard USS Gravely, DDG-107, an Arleigh Burke flight, to a destroyer commissioned in 2010. The midwatch is in the condition that midwatches in the Red Sea achieve at 1:47 in October. Dark, warm, professionally occupied, and caffeinated at the level that 1:47 requires. The surface picture is busy, because the Red Sea surface picture is always busy. Commercial shipping, regional fishing traffic, the occasional vessel whose AIS transmission is less than perfectly informative about its intentions. The tactical action officer is reviewing the watch's contact log. The officer of the deck is monitoring the surface picture on the bridge repeater. The surface search radar operator is painting the standard Red Sea mosaic of commercial and military contacts, updating track files flagging anything unusual. At 1:52, the surface search radar operator reports a new contact. Bearing 215, range 18 nautical miles. Small radar cross-section. Speed approximately 30 knots. neutralized. The contact is small enough that the radar return is at the edge of reliable detection at this range, and the speed is distinctive. 30 knots is not a sea state that commercial vessels make through the Red Sea at night, and it is not a speed associated with the fishing traffic. The speed is a speedboat speed, or a fast patrol craft speed, or a USV speed. The radar operator flags it and updates the contact track. The contact is holding course northeast. The contact is pointed at USS Gravely. The tactical action officer has the contact data at 152.22. He looks at the bearing, the range, the speed, the absence of AIS. He looks at the course, which is northeast, which is the course from the Yemeni operational area toward the Red Sea shipping lanes where USS Gravely has been operating. He looks at the size, which is small. He looks at the speed, which is fast. He makes an assessment in the time it takes someone with his experience to make an assessment. Approximately 3 seconds. Bridge combat. I have a fast mover, bearing 215, 18 miles, 30 knots, no AIS, course northeast. Possible USV. Request commanding officer. The officer of the deck reaches for the 1MC. Commanding officer to the bridge. Here is the vulnerability window, and it is measured in minutes rather than seconds. And it is real in a way that requires understanding the specific geometry of a fast surface contact at night. A USV approaching at 30 knots covers approximately 0.5 nautical miles per minute. From 18 nautical miles, a 30-knot contact reaches USS Gravely's position in approximately 36 minutes. 36 minutes sounds like sufficient time to address a contact. And it is. Mostly. The complication is not the time. It is the detection to decision chain that the rules of engagement require for a contact that is at 18 nautical miles in the Red Sea at night. A radar blip with a suspicious motion profile. The contact could be a USV on an attack run. It could also be a fast local fishing craft making a night run to a preferred fishing ground, which Yemeni fishermen do. It could be a small boat courier transiting between ports without the AIS equipment that international regulations recommend but do not universally enforce in this region. The contact is suspicious. The contact is not yet confirmed hostile. The ROE require positive identification before engagement authorization, and positive identification of a fiberglass boat at 18 nautical miles on a surface search radar in the Red Sea at night is not something that happens instantly. Positive identification requires either a visual from the ship's optical systems, difficult at 18 miles in the dark, or a closer pass from the MH-60R Seahawk helicopter that would allow the crew to see the contact with their FLIR sensors and confirm or deny the USV classification. The Seahawk is in the hangar. It can be launched in approximately 8 minutes from the standing alert configuration. 8 minutes from 1:52 is 2 o'clock. The contact at 30 knots will be at approximately 14 miles at 200 hours when the Seahawk is airborne. The Seahawk covers the remaining distance to the contact in approximately 6 more minutes. At 2:06, the Seahawk can be over the contact for identification. At that point, the contact will be approximately 9 miles from USS Gravely. 9 miles at 30 knots is approximately 18 minutes. The timeline works. It is not comfortable, but it works. And "it works but isn't comfortable" is the description of most operational timelines in the Red Sea. There is one additional element. The Red Sea, at night in October, has a weather system moving through the operational area that has been tracked since yesterday's morning brief. The system is not severe. It is a low-pressure cell, producing rain squalls and associated wind gusts. Nothing that would ground the Seahawk on its own. But at 1:52, a squall line is passing through the area, approximately 15 miles to the southeast, and the squall's leading edge is producing a radar return that the surface search picture has to work around. The squall is not blocking the USV's bearing. The USV is to the southwest, the squall is to the southeast. But the squall is degrading the surface search radar's performance in the eastern quadrant and is requiring the radar operator to allocate additional attention to discriminating genuine contacts from weather clutter. The radar operator is skilled. She has been doing this for 4 years. She's managing it. But the squall is an additional item on the cognitive load of a mid-watch team that has just added a possible USV to its picture at 1:52. The commanding officer is aware of the squall. He is already on the bridge at 1:54 when the Seahawk launch is ordered. The Seahawk launches at 2:01, 9 minutes from the initial contact report, which is within the brief for the standing alert configuration and represents a crew that is awake and ready at 0201 in the way that Seahawk crews on Red Sea deployments are awake and ready at 0201. The aircraft climbs and turns southwest toward the contact's bearing. The FLIR sensor warms up during the transit. The crew has the contact data from Gravely's surface picture via the data link and knows what they are looking for. Small surface contact, approximately 5 meters, high speed, no visible crew, no navigation lights, northwest of the squall line. At 2:08, the Seahawk crew reports visual contact with the FLIR. Small hull, approximately 5 meters, high speed, no lights, no visible crew, navigation profile, consistent with autonomous guidance. The crew transmits the FLIR image to USS Gravely via data link. The tactical action officer sees the image on his display. The image shows a dark hull with a bow wave consistent with 30+ knots, a flat deck with what appears to be a payload section amidships, no crew positions, no navigation lights. He recognizes the configuration. The Houthi USV profile has been briefed to every Red Sea deployment for the past 8 months. He keys the commanding officer circuit. Commanding officer, I have a FLIR image confirmation. This is a USV. The commanding officer looks at the image on his repeater. He authorizes engagement at 2 hours, 8 minutes, and 44 seconds. The contact is at 10 nautical miles. Let us talk about the Mark 38 machine gun system, because the weapon USS Gravely was going to use matters. The Mark 38 Mod 2 is a remotely operated 25mm chain gun, 180 rounds per minute, operated from inside the ship by a crew member at a console with a targeting camera and joystick. No weather deck in the rain at 2:08 required. Its effective range against small surface targets, approximately 2,500 meters, 1.3 nautical miles. At 2:08, the contact is at 10 miles. The gap between where the Mark 38 can reach and where the contact is, 7.5 miles, approximately 15 minutes at 30 knots. USS Gravely also has the Phalanx as a final layer, and SM-2s and SM-6s in the vertical launch cells that the ROE sensibly declined to authorize against a 5-meter fiberglass boat, using a $1 million missile against a $40,000 drone, is the kind of ammunition math that makes the Pentagon's acquisition office reach for antacids. And there is the Seahawk overhead, the contact at the 0208 with its M240 and an engagement geometry that is immediate. The commanding officer assigns the Seahawk as primary at 2 hours, 8 minutes, and 47 seconds. The Seahawk's crew begins the engagement run at 2 hours, 9 minutes, and 12 seconds. The M240 opens fire on the contact from an altitude of approximately 50 feet at 2:09:31. The contact's propulsion system is affected in the first burst. The FLIR shows the bow wave subsiding, speed reducing from 30 knots to approximately 12 over the next 40 seconds as the engine or fuel system is compromised. A second engagement burst at 020951 produces a structural failure in the midship section of the contact. The contact loses steerage. At 2:10:18, the contact's warhead initiates, not from proximity to USS Gravely, which is still 8.5 nautical miles away, but from the structural damage and possible sympathetic energy transfer from the ongoing engagement. The detonation produces a debris field approximately 30 meters across. The contact is gone. The Seahawk crew reports contact neutralized at 2:10:22. The surface search radar confirms the contact has dropped off the track display. The sea surface on the FLIR shows debris settling. USS Gravely is at 8.5 nautical miles from the detonation point. No fragments reach the ship. The crew is unhurt. The flight deck is clear. The Mark 38 never fired. The time from initial contact report to contact, neutralized, 17 minutes and 40 seconds. Below decks, the electronic warfare officer has been working since 200 hours when the operational picture clarified enough to direct his attention specifically at the USV contact rather than the general electromagnetic environment. The USV's control system operates through a satellite video link that the operator in the shore-based control station uses to steer the craft. The satellite link uses a commercial protocol that operates in a frequency band the SLQ-32 monitors as part of its standard electromagnetic coverage. At 2:03, the EW officer identified what appears to be the USV's control link, a signal originating from a bearing consistent with the Yemeni coast, operating on a commercial satellite uplink frequency, with transmission characteristics consistent with a first-person view video link of the type used in commercial drone racing equipment, adapted for larger applications. He has been collecting it since 2:03. The control link is a commercial FPV protocol. The EW officer reports to the tactical action officer at 02:04, with the tone of someone identifying a familiar face in an unexpected place. Same frequency band as the Shahed spotting drone we collected last March. They are standardizing on this architecture. He marks the frequency, the signal structure, the transmission interval, and the bearing. The bearing is southeast from the USV's position. The control link is not coming from the Daodiao that launched the USV, which is 18 miles behind it. The control link is coming from a bearing that is consistent with a shore-based station, approximately 200 kilometers south-southwest of the USV's launch position. The operator is on land. The Dow is just the launch platform. The separation between the launch platform and the control station is an operational security measure. If the launch Dow is identified, it doesn't compromise the control station, and vice versa. The EW officer notes the separation. He notes the bearing to the shore station. The bearing and the frequency go into the collection record. After the USV's detonation at 2:10:18, the control link signal changes character. The transmission, which had been continuous at a high data rate consistent with active video streaming, transitions to a brief, irregular burst pattern for approximately 90 seconds. Then it stops. The EW officer notes the transition. The operator was actively steering the USV until the moment of detonation, and then the control link went to what looks like an acknowledgement or status check pattern before terminating. The termination timeline, 90 seconds after the detonation, is logged. It is consistent with an operator who watched the detonation event on video, transmitted a status report to their command authority, and then secured the control link. This behavioral sequence, active control, detonation, brief status transmission, link termination, tells analysts the specific protocol the Houthi USV program follows after a mission attempt, whether the attempt succeeds or fails. The protocol is now in the collection record. The command authority that received the post-detonation status report is on a bearing that the EW officer can estimate from the post-detonation transmission. It is approximately the same bearing as the control station. The bearing is logged. The operator watched the whole thing, the EW officer says at 2:13, reviewing the control link's termination sequence. They saw the Seahawk approach on their video feed. They saw the engagement. They saw the detonation. He pauses. They sent a status report that lasted about 40 seconds. Then they shut down. He marks the shutdown time. The shutdown was not panicked. It was procedural. He adds this to the collection record. Procedural shutdown, rather than panic shutdown, tells analysts the operator is trained and disciplined and is following a protocol that was designed in advance. This is not a program operated by amateurs. The discipline of the post-engagement shutdown is itself a data point about the maturity of the Houthi USV program. The collection report for the evening runs to 19 pages. It covers the radar detection, the Seahawk identification, the engagement sequence, and the EW collection on the control link. The control link frequency is compared against the March collection on the Shahed spotting drone link. They share a frequency band and a signal architecture that the EW officer assesses as coming from the same technical source, which is to say, the Iranian Technical Advisory Program that is providing both the drone and the USV programs with their communications infrastructure. The standardized communications architecture across multiple Houthi weapon systems is operationally significant. It suggests a common technical supply chain, which has implications for countermeasures development and for tracking the Iranian advisory program's contributions to Houthi capability. The assessment goes into the report. The report goes to 5th Fleet, to NAVCENT, to the Office of Naval Intelligence's Asymmetric Threat Program, and to the Marine Corps intelligence community, which maintains its own assessments of Houthi irregular maritime warfare capabilities. The report also goes via established channels to the Royal Saudi Navy and the United Arab Emirates Naval Forces, both of which have been dealing with USV threats in Gulf and Red Sea approaches for longer than the U.S. Navy has been operating in this environment. The detonation's debris field produces one additional intelligence product. Fragments of the USV that were large enough to be recovered by the Seahawk crew, hovering over the area after the engagement, include what appear to be remnants of the propulsion system's fuel injection components and 2 fragments from what may be the guidance system's electronics housing. The fragments are photographed by the Seahawk crew, and the images are transmitted to USS Gravely and then to the Explosive Ordnance Disposal Analysis Program. The fuel injection components are identifiable from manufacturer markings as commercially available marine engine parts that can be traced through the supply chain to a distributor that services the Gulf region. The electronics fragments are less clearly identifiable but are being analyzed by the EOD program. The supply chain trace on the fuel injection components will take several weeks, but will eventually contribute to the broader picture of how the Houthi program sources its USV hardware. The cost accounting for the morning is worth noting. The Houthi USV, approximately $40,000 in materials, plus the operational cost of the DAO plus the operator time. The U.S. Navy response, the Seahawk flight hours, the M240 ammunition, the fuel, the crew time, and the 19-page collection report. The comparison that makes the Pentagon's asymmetric threat program uncomfortable is not the cost of this specific engagement. It is the trend line. USV costs $40,000. SM-2 costs $1 million. Mark 38 round costs approximately $30, and USS Gravely expended approximately 200 of them in test firing last week but 0 tonight. The Seahawk engagement used M240 rounds at approximately $2 each and approximately 80 rounds in 2 bursts. The total U.S. Navy ammunition expenditure for this specific engagement, approximately $160 in M240 rounds. The Houthi program spent $40,000. For once, the ratio is in the right direction. The commanding officer notes this in his engagement report, with the dry satisfaction of a man who has been writing Red Sea engagement reports for 11 months and has been waiting for one where the ammunition cost column reads favorably. The engagement report takes him 38 minutes to write. It is transmitted at 3:17. He picks up his coffee. It was made when the watch began, and it is from a fresh pot, because the mid-watch supervisor, who has been running the CIC coffee operation with the professional dedication of someone who understands that mid-watch coffee quality directly affects mid-watch cognitive performance, brewed a fresh pot at 2:30 while the engagement was in its post-neutralization phase. The coffee is good. It is the best coffee of the deployment. The EW officer agrees with this assessment. Now, Houthi media said something interesting about this morning. The Al Masirah satellite channel, which is the primary Houthi media organ for military announcements, released a statement at 9 a.m. local time, approximately 7 hours after the engagement. The statement announced that Houthi naval forces had conducted a successful maritime operation in the Red Sea, targeting American naval assets, and described the operation as demonstrating the movement's expanding naval capabilities and its commitment to imposing costs on American and allied naval operations in the region. The statement described the operation as a demonstration of the growing sophistication of the Houthi naval program's unmanned systems capabilities. This is, in the specific way that Houthi military communications work, simultaneously accurate and incomplete. The operation was conducted. The USV was launched. The naval program's unmanned capabilities are real. The statement did not describe the Seahawk that acquired the contact on FLIR at 0208. It did not describe the 17-minute and 40-second response timeline. It did not describe the M240's engagement run at 209 or the detonation at 210. It did not describe the fact that USS Gravely's closest point of approach to the detonation was 8.5 nautical miles. It described a maritime operation. The maritime operation happened. The detonation was the last event in the maritime operation, rather than, as the statement implies, an event in a sequence that included something hitting USS Gravely. The second account, from an affiliated Houthi social media account, posted footage described as showing the USV in transit at night, with the glowing surface of the Red Sea visible on the video feed. The footage is real. It appears to be from the operator's control feed, showing the USV's bow camera view from what is clearly a fast surface transit at night. The footage ends abruptly. It does not show the Seahawk. It does not show the engagement. It does not show what the control link's termination sequence showed the EW officer, an operator who watched the engagement through his video feed and then shut down his equipment in a disciplined, procedural manner 90 seconds after the detonation. The footage ends before the interesting part. The Al Masirah statement fills in the gap with a different ending than the one the detonation actually produced. Aboard USS Gravely, the morning watch has taken over from the mid-watch. The surface picture is normal. The squall has passed to the southeast and the radar picture has cleared. The Seahawk is back in the hangar after its post-engagement return and is being serviced. The Mark 38 did not fire. The Phalanx did not fire. The SM-2S and SM-6S are in their cells, unbothered, waiting for a different kind of morning. The EW officer is transmitting the collection report. The fragments from the debris field are in a bag in the intelligence office, tagged and photographed, waiting for the EOD analysis team. The mid-watch supervisor's coffee is being evaluated by the morning watch supervisor, who has decided it is good enough to extend the pot rather than brewing fresh. This is high praise. The control link frequency is in the collection record. The shore-based control station bearing is in the collection record. The post-detonation status report timing is in the collection record. The supply chain trace on the fuel injection components is in process. The standardized communications architecture connecting the USV program to the drone program is in the assessment. 19 pages, 5 organizations. The Red Sea is warm and busy and entirely indifferent to what happened at 2:10:18. The next USV will use the same components, the same frequency, the same trained operator, following the same protocol. It will be detected the same way and responded to in the same time. The collection record will get one more entry. Eventually, not this week, the picture will be complete enough to address the program at a level above the individual engagement. That is what 19 pages are for. Bye for now.